So, Fromsoftware just announced a new game that they're developing. It is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive PVPVE battle royale online multiplayer. It's Bloodborne to Fortnite, I guess. It's a lot of things, and I think myself and a lot of other people who love Fromsoftware and love their games have been on a bit of a emotional roller coaster over the past couple of days here, because at first, when the trailer dropped in the Nintendo Direct, it really seemed like this was an announcement of the next big Souls game. Like, this is their next single-player, action RPG. It's the follow-up to Elden Ring, essentially. This is what we're getting. And everybody was super excited about it, right? And then some more details started coming out about the type of game that it was. And there was this immediate doomerism surrounding it. And I'll admit, for myself, I was a little bit disappointed to hear that it was going to be primarily an online multiplayer game, especially with that component of it being a Switch 2 exclusive. Because that really means that, all right, if you want to try this new thing that Fromsoftware is doing, you got to drop, a not insignificant amount of cash on it. Switch 2 is going to be like $450 in America, where I live. Maybe more. Who knows what's going to happen with the concept of money and the economy in general in the next year here. But yeah, that was sort of the feeling that I saw from a lot of people, was like they were very excited at first, and then the excitement maybe tapered off a little bit and maybe transformed into a little bit of disappointment when they started learning more about the game. But we have just gotten some more information about the game. An interview with Hidetaka Miyazaki just dropped on Nintendo's website as part of their Creator Voice series. And I just wanted to give my thoughts on this game and why I have come back around to being very excited for it, actually. And it is something that I am genuinely interested in, and I'm happy that this is what Fromsoftware is doing with their resources. So, the first thing that I want to bring up in this interview here is basically just a confirmation that Fromsoftware is not becoming a multiplayer studio. They are not exclusively focusing on multiplayer games. In the interview, Miyazaki said he's always found the PVPVE structure very interesting, but he wanted to say that this is an online multiplayer title at its core, but it doesn't mean that we as a company have decided to shift to a more multiplayer-focused direction. We still intend to actively develop single-player-focused games, such as Elden Ring, that embrace our more traditional style. So, there you go, right? There's no need to worry, right? Fromsoftware's got us. And this is something that I posted on Blue Sky. Follow me on Blue Sky. After this happened, which was like, this might not be exactly made for me the way that I feel like Fromsoftware single-player games are made for me. Like, they are exactly what I love in a video game. But if any developer, and if any director specifically has earned my trust, it's Hidetaka Miyazaki, and it's Fromsoftware, right? Like, I will try anything that these guys put out, because I know that they are going to put their heart and soul into it, and that it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be half-assed. It's not going to be a cheap product. It's going to have an interesting vision. At the very least, I mean, my God, the art direction in this game, the music, the character designs, even if this is Bloodborne Fortnite, it's going to look insane. It's going to be fun to play. And so I was going back and forth over the last couple of days here, feeling like some disappointment that this is not an announcement of the next big Souls game, and a little bit of disappointment that the aesthetic and the art direction that is very Bloodborne-esque is being put towards a multiplayer game and is not being put towards a single-player game. But as we've gotten more details about this game, especially in this interview, I'm starting to get more and more interested in it. So, for instance, here, he says that the game takes place during this twilight of humanity. That's sort of the inciting event, if you will, for all of these characters to come and duke it out. They're fighting for something known as first blood. That's, it's your victory royale crown. That's what you get if you're the last person standing. But there's no fixed era or location that it takes place. So there are Gothic and Victorian style maps. And then he says those depicting the closing years of the early modern period, like the one glimpsed in the trailer with the train running through it. So there's going to be multiple maps here that people can, engage in these online multiplayer matches in. And they look like pretty significantly sized maps, which is interesting to me. The glimpse that we saw in the trailer of that sort of, Gothic cathedral Victorian type of thing with the town surrounding it looked like it was a pretty decently sized map. I mean, at least the size of something like a legacy dungeon from Elden Ring, maybe a little bit smaller than that, but think size of Stormvale Castle, right? That is kind of the scope that I think these maps are going to be on, the level that they're going to be on. That does make me more interested, because I was a little bit worried at first that maybe it would just be this one map that we have, and maybe it changes over time and they have like different seasons and stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like there's going to be a wide variety of different maps that people can play on. He also spends some time talking about the Bloodsworn, right? So that's the cast of characters that you can pick from. There are maybe more than a dozen of them that you can pick from. And they are going to control differently than characters in traditional Souls games. They've got super jumps. They've got double jumps. They have unique weapons and abilities. There's a wide range of creativity here, which I'm definitely happy to hear about. I think that any sort of game like this that still had traditional Souls movement and combat would probably not feel too good, right? Like the sort of hectic online multiplayer thing would be harmed, I think, by that sort of very methodical and slow, deliberate Souls combat and movement. So I'm glad that they are going to be sort of cranking things up a little bit. That is encouraging to me. And here's another thing that it was kind of a relief for me to hear about, is that you can customize these characters to a certain extent. This is something that I was thinking about when the trailer dropped and when we started learning that this was going to be a multiplayer game. I really love invasions, but I'm ambivalent about PvP. And that might sound kind of weird to hear, but I think there's a difference. I love the process of creating a character that is specifically made to do invasions. I love the preparation. I love using the terrain and the map to my advantage. Using my knowledge of the game to try and overcome that, 2v1, 3v1 scenario that I might find myself in. That's what I really like. That's why I never went to the Coliseum. I don't do duels. I'm not interested in doing just pure PvP. I want to do invasions. And so I was a little concerned that maybe I wouldn't enjoy this game if it's just you pick a set character, they have a set loadout, you can't customize it at all, you go and fight other people. That's not something that really catches my attention. But Miyazaki spent a bunch of time in this interview talking about the ways that you can customize these characters and how that customization reveals the story of the game and the backgrounds of the characters. And so we are getting some of that Souls storytelling here. It's going to be doled out to us in, item descriptions and ability descriptions, but it's in a multiplayer game, and we're going to have some of that RPG customization, but it's in a multiplayer game. So just that fact alone makes me feel a little bit better about it, that you can customize these characters and that you can tweak them, to perform in certain ways. There's also some really fascinating stuff that he was talking about how you can assign roles and relationships to your characters. You can take a character that you really love and make them a designated rival with another character, or a designated support for another character. And if you see someone else playing that character in your match, you can earn I think they called it victory points. It's some sort of experience or currency or something like that by either fighting that person or helping them out. And that is a very, very interesting way to include role-playing elements in a multiplayer game. It's something that I've never really seen before. I think that this is really to Fromsoftware's credit, is that even in a genre that is so exhausted as online, battle royale multiplayer or extraction shooters or things like that, which, I mean, years ago, right, Miyazaki said that he really liked Escape from Tarkov, and there was this collective sense of everybody kind of nervously laughing and being like, what does he mean? Like, is the next Souls game going to be Souls Tarkov? Is it going to be Souls Fortnite? And everybody was a little nervous, but now we're getting to see how that actually plays out. And the way that it's playing out is with some really genuinely interesting twists on this multiplayer format that I haven't seen from other developers. And that's what I want from software games. They do things that other developers just don't do. And that they aren't doing. They're willing to put new ideas into their games, even in a game like this. There is going to be a hub area where you can select the character that you want to play. You can customize them. You can, make the character your own in a sense, and that is how you're going to learn more about their history. He calls it blood history and fate. And this hub area sort of feeds into the gameplay loop. So you will, you'll jump into a match. You will earn some sort of currency or experience in the match. If you win, obviously, you get a bunch of more of that currency or experience. This is very typical kind of online multiplayer stuff. The win condition isn't always being the last person standing. He also talks about how there's some unique things that might happen while you are inside of a match. That freaky moon-looking thing from the trailer, oh my god, that is the image that has stuck in my mind the most, and I was very curious about what that was. That is one of these unique random events that can happen. It's going to change the win condition of the match in some way. Or maybe the win condition might be everyone needs to team up and defeat this really challenging enemy. And so you aren't necessarily fighting the other people, or maybe you go from being rivals to being allies in a very short amount of time. That provides for some very interesting, very fun interactions, which is another thing that I like about invasions that I don't necessarily love about just PvP, is how unique invasions can be, and how many just weird and goofy and ridiculous and interesting things can happen in an invasion when you are fighting against other people. And it seems like they are really leaning into that type of gameplay with this release, which I am very excited for. I think it's going to be great. Now, the question is, am I $500 interested in this? I don't know. That is a lot of money to drop on a gamble, essentially. There's nothing else releasing on the Switch 2 that I'm like, I need to own a Switch 2 in order to play this. This is the only game that I might need to play. But I don't know. I just don't know yet, right? And so I think that's still the only sticking point for me. And I understand sort of the business reasons and the economic reasons behind having console exclusives. Fromsoftware is a business, right? They want to develop good relationships with big companies like Nintendo. That is completely understandable. So there's, of course, no sort of ill will towards them for releasing an exclusive. But it's just like, man, that's a high barrier to entry. And that, combined with the fact that this is a multiplayer game, makes me wonder how many people are going to be buying and playing this. And most people who maybe only would own a Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo Switch 2 might not be the Souls audience. How many people are going to be playing this? Are we going to have empty lobbies? Are people actually going to be interested in it? The fact that it's only online multiplayer means that its lifespan might be significantly shorter than other titles. How much money is it going to cost too, right? Night Rain is $40, which is amazing. I love them for that they're not releasing it as a full-priced game. But yeah, if this is $60, $70, $80, oh my god, we're getting $80 and $90 video games again, like it's 1994. But those are kind of my only real concerns now. Like I really think this game is interesting. And I'm really happy that Fromsoftware is experimenting like this, because they got so much money and clout and respect from Elden Ring, and a lesser studio, I think, would not take risks like this, and they would not branch out, and they would not diversify like this. But it's very clear that Fromsoftware saw the success of Elden Ring as an opportunity, and they're seizing on that opportunity to try new things. And I love that. I think that's what you have to do in situations like that in order to keep things fresh and to stay alive, right, in such a competitive field. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the Duskbloods. I'm very interested in it. I am not a Duskbloods hater. I'm very happy that this game is coming out, and I'm very, very interested to learn more about it in the future.